welcome to our episode today. As you can see, we have a new layout, and we'll get to that in a second. But first, I'm Kaylee Patton-Dieters. I'm a licensed clinical marriage and family therapist.
I am Caitlin Mead. I am a licensed clinical professional counselor and registered play therapist. And this is Glitter and Chaos.
With the big emphasis on chaos today.
Very much so. As you can tell, today's, we look a little different, not
That
just
too.
in costume, but in our setup.
Yeah. So we're planning on doing this episode on Halloween. So we dressed up as Wednesday and Enid from the Wednesday television show on Netflix.
Uh-huh.
And we were getting ready, and then all of a sudden I get a phone call I was getting my makeup finished, and my husband says, I need something from the house to bring to the office. And I went, okay. So there's construction going on right now. And there's a lot of loud noises, and there's a lot of big bangs. And where our usual studio is located is right next to it. So we had to pivot really quickly, create a whole new scene, and troubleshoot in the moment when things weren't going right.
So welcome to the chaos of Glitter and Chaos. But that's okay. We pivot pretty well, and we made this work.
Yes.
And it's gonna be great.
It is.
It's gonna be great. So we're pretty excited. So if you hear a little background noise, that's
the chaos around us.
The chaos around us. But this is part of this. This is part of the
real, in the moment, you get us as we are today.
Authenticity
Yes.
of life.
Yes.
So welcome to today's Halloween episode. Happy Halloween to all of you. I hope that you enjoy this holiday, and that if you have kids, you get to enjoy it with them too. And if you don't, I just hope that you have fun today and you enjoyed today. And today's episode is actually going to be about masking.
Yes.
And about the different personas that we put on. And so that was part of the reason why we dressed up.
Yes.
To kind of emphasize what today's holiday is. It's for fun, but it's also a chance for people to get to be who they're normally not.
Yeah.
And so that brings us into the discussion of what masking is. I'm just going to kind of let Kaylee take off with that.
So masking can happen at any point in time, in any situation with any sort of prompt or environment or anything like that. I'm getting really distracted. So just with the authenticity of the noises in the background. So sometimes it's really hard to keep focus on what I'm saying. But so with masking, I was first introduced to this in the kind of more neurodivergent world of ADHD and autism. And so like I've self-disclosed, I'm a late diagnosed ADHDer. And they talk about masking as ways of trying to, not always in a great way, accommodate yourself to present in a certain way in whatever environment you're in, whether that is at school, whether that's at work, whether that's at home, out in the community, at a shop, somewhere. And that is where you have this particular, as you say, mask that you present outwardly to the world. And so sometimes masking is healthy. Sometimes we need to mask depending on the situation. But then sometimes if the mask is kept on too long, then that's where it can not be helpful. It can actually be a detriment to your mental health, sometimes your physical health too. So it's not always 100% available to completely not mask. I know that that's what we would like to ideally do, is to, always be our authentic self in a situation, always be able to step our foot forward of who we want to be. And the hard part is sometimes that's not always realistic or able to, for whatever reason.
Right. So, today I wanted to get a little personal when we talk about masking. And, Kaylee talked about the ADHD piece, and we talk about the neurodivergent world. And I want to emphasize, too, it's not, masking can happen in a multitude of situations with a multitude of mental health issues and concerns. And even people that don't necessarily deal with mental health issues or concerns. I don't want to just zero in on that population either, although I'm going to put a caveat in here. And I think every single person walking this earth deals with some sort of mental health issue, because I really, truly don't believe that you can walk around in the world that we live in now and not be dealing with something. We're all adjusting to different things, different changes. The world around us is chaotic. But getting personal about that, when we talk about anxiety, we talk about depression, we talk about a multitude of things. And I shared when the podcast first opened up that I was diagnosed with PTSD after a series of traumatic events. And as a result of that, also some OCD. And as I was looking into how I personally mask some things, one of the ways and I know that you would notice this because you noticed this not long after, you were in the mess of it with me.
The event.
My masking was very much, I isolated and I avoided. Probably for like the first 2 years, especially because COVID hit after everything occurred. And one of the ways, I was kind of looking into masking and what people do with masking. And a lot of that is to isolate and avoid. And a lot of that has to do with the need to control.
Yeah.
And so my masking, in a lot of ways, even still is I will sometimes isolate, I will avoid, I will start trying to control the things around me and the people around me because I might internally feel out of control. And so I put on this persona, if you will, that I am in control by controlling the things around me or the people around me.
Yeah.
Which then can also turn into this need for perfectionism. And that then can spiral into this self, I don't know how I would word that, kind of a how would you word that? I turn on myself.
Self-critical,
Yes, becoming very self-critical.
Self-sabotage.
But like you and I talk about it, like I turn on myself. This is where I turn. I will often degrade myself and start
attacking yourself.
Yeah, internally attacking myself. Yeah. And that tends to be my masking, which is I don't really want to address what the problem is, what the emotion is, what's going on in my mind. And instead of addressing that, I'm going to do all the maladaptive things, all the things that, anything and everything I can do without addressing what's actually going on.
Yeah.
So, and that's where, like what Kaylee said, sometimes it's healthy. Like sometimes it's healthy to maybe isolate in the fact of maybe I just need to take a break. But then when it turns into I'm trying to control other people, I turn into the perfectionist, and then I turn into the self-hatred. That's when it becomes unhealthy. And even to a point, isolating too much becomes unhealthy and not addressing those emotions. So that's my personal experience with masking. That tends to be how I do it. And luckily I have good people in my life who call me out on it.
Yeah. I, in preparation of this episode, was trying to think of different ways that I mask. And I notice that I mask in different ways and in different spaces, and I think it depends on my energy level for that day. I have been really trying to focus on my energy levels, on what I am able to do, how I am able to present myself. I think it just kind of depends. I don't know if I have a specific mask per se. Although I think some of my friends would disagree. They know where my certain energy levels are for the day. I have been told I have a therapist voice at times. I've even had, people say, "Oh, you put on your therapist voice." I'm like, I don't mean to. Sometimes you just kind of, for me, sometimes I just do it and I don't even think about it. I just kind of fall into it. Or some people will maybe know it as like your customer service voice. So like when you're on the phone with somebody, like a company, business, whatever, you always kind of want to have a brighter tone. You smile when you talk because then you sound more friendly when you're smiling and less threatening.
Less threatening.
Well, when you're talking to some companies, like insurances or, something because of whatever reason, sometimes you have to remember to smile and be nice to these people because it's not their fault, one. And two, it's a frustrating situation for everybody.
And three, you
involved.
have a contract with them.
And we have a contract with them, that as well. But But regardless, so most people would know it as like your customer service voice. That is a mask. That is a really good example of how we mask and how we change or adapt our presentation to the world to fit the situation. And otherwise, I really think I have been working on unmasking some of the things I've learned throughout the years of how I present myself to the world. It's not easy, and it's not always 100%. And some days I can do it, and some days I can't. I know. So kind of also part of the glitter piece of it is, I've told you and talked about it. I love glitter. I love sparkly things. And it's something that I've always liked, I've always enjoyed, but it wasn't something I'd always put out, for everybody. But then it started as kind of a joke within my larger group of friends and family that I just love shiny things. And so, and it just kind of took off, and I leaned into it because I was like, ooh, yes, I can lean into it. It's something that they know it's me. And so when somebody sees something glittery or shiny, or my favorite animal is a penguin, or sees a penguin, that is like, they send me a picture, or they're like, hey, I saw this. Or for like Christmas, I get a lot of glittery and shiny things because it makes me happy. And so that was something that I could lean into that was authentically me, but isn't necessarily in the general world. I don't want to say accepted, because that's not the right word, but it's not seen as much. Because no. I have glittery shirts, I have glittery shoes. I love finding clothes where I can have glitter and sequins and things like that. You don't see that out in the world more so, and I guess more so in the rural communities.
Right.
That's maybe what I'm kind of talking. It's not typical.
Right. It's not
typical. That's the word. But it is something that I've leaned into because it makes me happy, for one.
And it is unmasking.
And it's a self-expression too.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think you bring up a good point in the unmasking. Like, unmasking is difficult because I think there's this fear. I think a lot of times we mask to fit the social norm.
And to not be rejected.
And this fear of being of rejection, and this fear of, if I don't present myself a certain way, people are going to look at me weird, or they're going to think I'm not carrying whatever it is I'm carrying well. I think about, like, in my situation, when I'm talking about like my trauma, a lot of that need to be in control was, I have to remain in control because I don't want people to look at me like I don't have it together. One of the things that I struggled with a lot was, after the events happened, living in a rural community and walking around and everybody knew what happened.
Yeah.
I did not want the looks of pity. I understood and I appreciated the words of sympathy and the empathy from people and the compassion from people. And I love this community for that. Yeah. But I also, I wanted to look like someone who not moving on with life, but someone I wanted to be viewed as someone who could continue, someone who was strong, someone who persevered, resilient, all of those things. And so I think part of my masking was, okay, like, yes, this terrible thing happened, but I have to keep going. And it was this fear too of, I did not want people to see me shattering. Even though I was, and even though there are still parts of me that do, it was definitely like, I can't let the entire world see that I'm shattering.
It's that vulnerability that you're trying to hide in a way, behind that mask, behind that persona, behind, whatever. I mean, you hear about it all the time with performers. They will adopt a stage presence, and that's who they become when they perform. And that's the exact thing of, putting on a mask. You're having it. I don't want to say it's a performance per se, but it is in a way an armor. Like, you're suiting up just to protect yourself, and to protect yourself from being vulnerable in maybe a situation or a place or environment that you don't feel you can be vulnerable.
Yeah. Well, and we had so much trauma even occurring after the big event that I didn't really have the opportunity to just fall apart, essentially, because we were still in survival mode with our other child. But, now I'm at a phase where I'm trying to unmask And what does that look like? And so like being authentically myself now and the unmasking now, I have a very dark sense of humor. And I've embraced that, I want to say, probably within the last 2 years. And sometimes it's very offensive to some people, I guess, or I come off.
I think with the humor, sometimes people don't know how to take it, like sarcasm. Sarcasm is a wonderful mode of communication, but it has a time and a place sometimes. But also, sometimes sarcasm is a way to cope and deal in the moment.
And that's me. Like that's me. That's what I have embraced. That's very authentically me. I am probably what I guess I've been described now over the last couple of years, a much harder person than I used to be. And I guess I'm still trying to figure out what my unmasking is.
It's a process. It's not something that happens overnight.
And I think I'm starting to come into it and being comfortable in my own skin, probably for the first time in a really long time. And being okay with that, being okay with being authentic, being the chaos. I'm good being the chaos. I'm good being the sass, being the like I don't know how to describe it.
We take turns, like we've said before. We often take turns in it. Like this morning, when things have to pivot initially, I have a little bit of panic of this isn't how I thought it was going to go. This isn't what I expected. This isn't what I had planned out in my head. But then once I get over or get through that piece of it, I can go into crisis mode and figure things out, which is one of the things that you see a lot with ADHD brains is chaos is something that most, not all, because ADHD, of course, of everything is a kind of a circular pie of a bunch of different things. But sometimes doing well in a chaos is something I can do well in. I can be very centered. I can be very calm. I can get things done. And then afterwards, I may have some fallout from that. But in the moment, my brain is trying to solve a problem. And sometimes I do enjoy solving the problems because then I get to think outside the box. I get to think, okay, how can I make this work? How can I do this and that? And, try to find connections and, just possibilities that we might have not thought of.
Right.
And so when we were doing that, it was like, we had the discussion of, well, do we just film it next week? Do we do it a different time? And we're like, nope. This is a great example of why we started the podcast.
Right. And to be real, braiding my hair was a nightmare and I'm not doing it again. There is a reason I don't do this. This is not.
Yeah.
So I flat out told her, I was like, I'm not doing this again. The amount of product and snapping of rubber bands that went into this was not
be rough.
Fun. My son this morning was like, "What are you doing?" Don't ask. But it's and again, like this is, and we talked about that, like, let's not change things to present as perfect because we're not. And that was the whole point of this is not perfect. And honestly, like, was it kind of I remember texting her, like I was sitting in my office and I said, I don't know how we're going to do this with construction occurring 2 doors down or like 2 doors down from my office, but next door to like where our studio is. And she called me as I was talking to her husband and she's like, so this is my thoughts. And I was like, yeah, sure, fine, whatever. Like, we got this. Like, we can do this. Because one thing that we have learned working together is very much the, like, one might freak out.
Yeah.
And the other one is either going to be the calm.
Yes.
Or like we might freak out together for a second and we'll have our like blah moment. And then both of us will. And then we will, okay, now what do we do about it? And that's typically how it works. Today, neither one of us really freaked, I don't think. We were both just kind of like, we'll problem solve. It'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm not going to lie. When I first got the phone call of I needed to grab something, I went, what are we going to do? what are we going to do? How are we going to get this? And I'm like, you know what? We're just going to pivot in the moment. It's going to be fine. It's going to be
As it sounds like things are falling apart back there. It's fine.
Everything's fine.
Might be living in a dumpster fire right now, but we're fine. We're fine.
Oh, man.
Okay?
Yeah.
But in all reality, like, and that too, that fine, everything's fine is an example of masking. Like, I'm going to throw that one out there too.
It is. And we'll just deconstruct that moment right quick, because there was a mechanical sound back there because they're cutting some wood, and I just froze because it distracted me, and whatever I had in my brain, it just went boop, it went gone. It was not there. And she was able to catch that, and she was able to run with it. And that's just, I think that's a very good masking moment of, oh, I'm being recorded right now. People are going to see this. I have to, be able to carry a conversation and finish a thought, a string of thoughts sometimes. And sometimes it's just too much for my brain. And it's like, I don't have another thing of other just like.
And and that's like, I don't know how to describe that. Like, I'm hearing it now, and it's welcome to chaos. We mask. The whole point of all of this is all of us mask to fit into something.
Yes.
To prevent the feeling of rejection. To feel comfortable in a very uncomfortable situation. Or to cover up something. Understand that that's normal. We talked about our personal experiences today. We would love to hear about yours if you feel so inclined as to share that. We will post a question about it on our Facebook and our Instagram pages. We're going to be making posts about, hey, on this episode we discussed this. What are some examples of you doing this? What
or how have you maybe seen it in someone that you're close with, like a good friend, or a partner, or
what are your thoughts on masking? What are things like that? Because we'd love to hear like other people's experiences. We don't want to just share our experiences. That we're here obviously sharing it with you because that was the whole point.
Yeah.
But we would love to hear more engagement as far as what are some experiences that you've witnessed or experiences that you've had, because
that breaks down that stigma that we've been talking about.
Yes. And that's the point that I want to make is like masking is so normal. It's something that we do every day. And honestly, one of the things that I was reading is it's very much an unconscious behavior. I think a lot of times it can be conscious and unconscious.
Yeah.
I think it can be conscious in a situation when like maybe you're walking. Okay, so Thanksgiving's coming up. And Thanksgiving can be really comfortable for some people, and it can be really uncomfortable for some people.
Yes.
And so when we're talking about the uncomfortable situations, I think sometimes people mask when they're going into large events, large family events, or wherever you're going. And maybe it's people you haven't seen in a long time. And so you're like, I have to present a certain way. And so you mask for that. And that might be a conscious decision because I have to put on this persona because so-and-so is going to be there or whatever. And so you have those situations. But then I also think that there's times when it is unconscious, when it's maybe just part of your daily routine, like going to work. Maybe you put on a different persona when you go to work versus when you're outside of work.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I get it where it's both unconscious and conscious, but I also think about the times when you have to make that decision to consciously put on that mask, and how sometimes awkward that can feel, especially if you've been doing some like interpersonal work or you have been
working on
unmasking in general. So to have to put that back on, sometimes that's where some of that dissonance, like cognitive dissonance, occurs of, this is who I was, this is not who I am now, but now I have to blend the two because of whatever situation, environment that you're going into.
It almost feels like betrayal to yourself.
Yeah, yeah. I use it a lot with like my clients of you have outgrown, you have stretched too far to where that no longer fits. And but yeah,
Yeah.
I like your example too.
Like it doesn't feel authentic to who you are anymore.
Yeah.
And I think that that's, when we were talking about our personal journeys too, I feel like that's kind of where I am at right now, is this battle of like, I am this person now because I have come into my own. And if I go back to that feels really yucky.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Well, and we also change as individuals throughout our lifeline.
right.
We're not the same person we were 5 years ago. We're not the same person we were 10 years ago.
Or even last year.
Or even last year. And so as we constantly evolve and change as people, you will outgrow some of those masks will fall off and you'll find new ones, but find more comfortable ones. Hopefully that's the whole goal. That's the whole idea. But I guess I think it still is that baseline of it serves a purpose.
Right.
And one of the things that I know with like PTSD, what we talk about is sometimes we had those masks for survival.
Yes.
And those masks need to be treated with special care, because those masks that we utilized to survive whatever situation it was, they got us through it. And so there's some reverence and there's some honoring of that, I think, that when we are looking at healing and growing as an individual, that we honor that masks helped us survive that really hard time or multiple hard times, and have some grace of if and when we do let that go, it was, trying to not shame ourselves for that, or be very self-critical that we had to do that to survive that moment.
Oh, I would 100% agree with that. I keep going back to the personal stuff. Mm-hmm. And again, I think today's episode was much more personal for you and I, and mm-hmm. how we deal with things. I would say that the masking that I did during that time, I don't regret that masking whatsoever, because that's what kept my family safe. Like that is what kept me from falling off the deep end. Mm-hmm. That is what kept me present to be a wife, to be a mom, to attend to what I needed to attend to in that moment, for that time, to continue to be able to face the micro traumas that were occurring after the big trauma. Because I think if I had not had that mask, I wouldn't have been able to continue to do the things that I needed to do to take care of what I needed to take care of and who I needed to take care of at the time. But then there did come a point where that line crossed and it wasn't healthy anymore.
Yeah.
But you're right. I think we need to hold in reference and we need to pay honor to the times that the masking that we do, whether it's PTSD, whether it is neurodivergence, whether it is whatever it is, serves a purpose. And serves a healthy purpose. But then it is also recognizing, okay, when is this no longer benefiting me?
Yes.
And when is it now detrimental to me and detrimental to my mental health and my relationships? Because the masking also doesn't just affect you, it affects your relationships with people.
Yes.
And how you interact with people.
Absolutely. Yes. And we haven't spent a whole lot of time on the relationships and how that affects, but yes, that's a good point to be made, that sometimes the masks can affect, sometimes, negatively, your relationships.
Yeah,
it really can. So, and it's one of those things. There's no straight answer on when is it okay to mask and when isn't, because it is so personal and it is so individualized when you feel you need that for some level of safety.
Right.
Whether that be interpersonal safety, whether that be physical safety, whether that be emotional, spiritual, any sort of safety that you may have to quantify that you need in that moment.
Absolutely. And then that's where I get into, the point of finding your people. Like finding your people, finding your friends, your support group, your family. And I'm not just talking about like blood family. Like I'm talking about the people that are I call it your family, like your friends that are your family. Like that are in your circle that
Mm-hmm.
that you feel safe to unmask with.
Mm-hmm.
Because the people that are in that circle for you are the people that you don't have to mask around.
Mm-hmm.
I think we all mask around the people that we care about.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. We do to a degree.
Yeah.
But I also believe that when you have those quality friendships, those quality relationships, the people that are there for you, those are the relationships that you learn, this is safe.
Mm-hmm.
These are the people that I don't have to put that mask on with,
Mm-hmm.
that I can be vulnerable with, that it's safe to be vulnerable with.
Yeah.
And those are the relationships that I think we need to invest in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you're going to feel safe enough to unmask.
Yeah.
And that's when we talk about, like, that's the reason I bring up the relationships part of it, because you're going to know, you're going to learn, is this a relationship that I have to mask in? Do I have to be guarded? Do I have to be restrictive? Or is this a relationship that I can be vulnerable? I can take the mask off. Are they going to accept me for who I am? And those are the relationships that are so important to cling to.
Yes.
And it's important to have those. And I'm not saying like you have to have 50, 30, whatever friends. Like to me, it's that core group. It's that, and maybe they're not like a group and you're all together, but like it's those core people in your life
that you can reach out to.
That you can reach out to, that you can say like, okay, you can see the good, you can see the bad. You're the one I can call. You're the one that's going to show up, and the one that's not going to judge me when you see the mask come off.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a good statement about just it's good to have that core group. Like you said, I don't think it has to be the physicality of it, because there are so many different people and places that you can have your core group. There's, great people that you can meet online, you can meet in real life. I mean, there's just, it doesn't have to be that physicality of them physically being there. While that's great and that's awesome if that can happen, that's not always realistic. And so there are great support networks online on many different platforms that you can reach out to create and foster those relationships as well. Oftentimes they're, something that you see that is, I'm interested in this other person's interested in it, let's talk about it. And then sometimes it can develop into something more.
Right. Or you meet them in different avenues or whatever, or you meet them through your husbands or whatever. But to me, it's just, I plug that in there because I want to point out that relationships are important, and your masking and unmasking affect your relationships. But it is so important to have authentic relationships. We talk about authenticity as an individual, but authentic relationships are important, which is a whole nother podcast that we're going to be able to do, and we'll probably need to do.
Healthy
relationships and authentic relationships. So
especially in this day and age of digital and electronic everything everywhere.
So like there's another podcast idea. What do you know?
On the cuff,
On the cuff. So you guys are going to be hearing
we're just
about
embracing
that,
the chaos today.
Yes, and apparently flying off ideas. But that was today's Halloween episode.
Let us know if you guessed correctly of who we were going to be ahead of time.
Yeah.
We kind of dropped, oh no, it won't happen between then.
No. No.
This is how it goes sometimes.
Yeah.
When you pivot so many times, you kind of just, it's fine.
It's okay. But like, I'm curious if when it came on and you saw how we were dressed, if you had any idea who we were. Yeah. So like, before we announced who we were, did you have any idea?
Yeah.
I feel like mine was pretty obvious, like braids, but I feel like Kaylee was kind of I don't know, like unless you watch the show, like you might not know.
Yeah.
I needed the little hand on my shoulder.
Ooh, that would have been fun.
That would have been fun.
Yeah. So anyway, well, thank you for joining us today in the absolute chaos of what is going on, and we will see you next time.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween. Thanks.